Birds of Prey is an all-female superhero team, with some exceptions. This premise originated in DC Comics back in 1996 as a partnership between Black Canary and Barbara Gordon, who at the time was known as Oracle. The title comic series began as a one-shot Black Canary/Oracle Birds of Prey, which was written by Chuck Dixon, who also wrote the first 55 comic book issues of the original run, and the rest were written by Gail Simone, Sean McKeever, and you can find the rest of those names from Wikipedia. The comic book series has had three original runs, long and short ones before the New 52 in 2011, one in the New 52 after 2000, of 23-ish issues during the DC Rebirth from back in 2016. There was also a short-lived TV show based on the team back in 2002 and 2003, which lasted for 13 episodes, and now in 2020 they finally have a movie adaptation to their name. As I mentioned, Birds of Prey is essentially an all-female superhero team, with some exceptions, as they have also had male members, either part-time or for a longer time. The most recognizable team members are still always Black Canary, Huntress, and Barbara Gordon. Only two out of those three managed to get into this movie, while the one that got left out was replaced with someone who shouldn't be there. The film is told with narration from the character of Harley Quinn, portrayed by Margot Robbie from the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. There is a quick animated recap of her life up to the moment as Harley is thrown out of the Joker's apparent safe house that resembles a suburban house. The Joker is not shown doing it, nor is he ever shown, as the internet has decided that Jared Leto is not allowed to give another performance as the character by any other writer or director after David Ayer. Harley is then shown going through what I could describe as a sideways spiral, where she doesn't exactly go up or down, but just thrown to the motion and events that we are going to come to. Because the narrator needs to stop the movie to explain who the important characters are when they show up. I will be doing that as well as we go on. So, the plot of the movie starts when Harley decides to destroy public property, or private property, depending which one Ace Chemicals happens to be, as a big and noticeable relationship status update that she and Mr. J are not together anymore. Not realizing that she is now alone with all the consequences of all the bad things she has done with or without the Joker's involvement, and without the Joker, Harley has a huge target on her back, with a lot of people deciding to pay back for what she has done or a part of doing to them. Eventually, she is caught and taken to the main antagonist of the movie, Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, portrayed by Evan McGregor. So let's talk about him now. Black Mask could be described as a man who was dropped on his head as a baby, because that is actually canon in the comics from Batman issue 386, along with him being attacked by a rabid raccoon as a child. Those events must have affected in his upbringing, as we are shown in the movie, along with spoken backstory given in the spoken dialogue about how he has ended up where he is. As a crime boss who posed as a club owner and wants to find a diamond that has a bank account of a now dead Bertinelli crime family lasered into it. Said diamond gets pickpocketed from when being en route to be brought to him, and chasing it is essentially the B plot of the movie that could happen without Harley Quinn in it at all, which actually brings me to a character who could have been replaced with anyone else. Cassandra Cain could have been replaced with any other preteen street smart girl in the foster system, because she is nothing like the character from the comic book she's named after. The first thing I should bring up about her is that at the age she is shown to be, 13 in the actor Ella J. Basco's case, she is she is supposed to be mute. The comic version was raised by her father, David Kane, in what he called the language of violence, which made it difficult for her to learn any other basic words or even recognize letters. Yet she speaks like any other stereotypical child character with kleptomania based on how much she keeps pickpocketing from everyone she comes across and made to hang out with other older hero characters, or when she calls Harry's apartment so cool. This is not Cassandra Cain, and I will talk more about it after I'm done with the summary. Anyway, Cassandra steals the diamond by pickpocketing it from Victor Zsasz, portrayed by Chris Messina, and I'll talk about him later. And then she gets caught by the GCPD, or by some random precinct of the GCPD because the only recognizable police officer there is Renee Montoya, played by Rosie Perez. Renee Montoya is portrayed as a veteran homicide detective who, quote, grew up on 80s cop movies, unquote. Unlike in the comics, she is not partnered or supported upon in her job by Harvey Bullock or even James Gordon, probably because the movie's narrative didn't suit using someone like them. But instead, there are a lot of stereotypical nameless male officers who look down on her because she's a woman, I guess. Actually, thinking back to the precinct scenes, I think Montoya was the only token woman in the whole department. A lot of different parties attack the police precinct to get Cassandra, who, to insult the intelligence of her comic book counterpart, swallows the diamond like the 4-year-old me swallowed a bronze marble. Yes, I was that kind of kid at that age. Harley gets to her first, having been given time up until midnight by Black Mask to get him the diamond so he won't kill her. But with the diamond in Cassandra's stomach, they need to hide while trying to get the diamond out of her without resorting to using a filleting knife like some kind of fish. Hiding without reporting back to Black Mask then leads to him putting a hit on both Harley and Cassandra, which leads us to the introduction of Huntress. Huntress is a character who wouldn't exist if all the male characters in the movie were a bunch of woman-hating misogynists. To recap her character as quickly as Harley's narration did, Huntress's real name is Helena Bertinelli from the crime family the diamond is named after, and she is the only one who survived the massacre of the entire family by four armed hitmen led by a mob boss whose name I can't remember. It wasn't made clear if it was one of the hitmen or one of the cleanup crew who found Helena alive under the bodies of her dead family members and hid her in Sicily to be raised into the badass she is presented in the movie. That one good man among the bad ones is essentially the reason why this badass female character exists. So eventually, Harley's apartment gets attacked when her landlord gets enough bribes to rat her and Cassandra out, leading to Harley see herself in a dog-eat-dog situation and decides to hand Cassandra over to Black Mask in an exchange happening in the amusement mall section of Gotham, name of which suggests that it is an abandoned amusement park where the climax of the movie takes place. Harley duct tapes Cassandra into the toilet bowl in a quick attempt to have the diamond come out of her in a survivable way. Montoya arrives at the scene before Black Mask's people, having been tipped off by a mole I'll talk about later. But Harley manages to overpower and push her aside once Victor Zsasz arrives with Black Mask's recent driver and club singer Dinah Lance, aka Black Canary, who is portrayed by Janice Smollett Bell. Black Canary is one of DC's oldest legacy characters, as in her original appearance she was portrayed as Dinah Drake, and the current version appearing in this movie is her daughter Dinah Laurel Lance. The character is, as a superhero, basically a female street fighter with a metahuman ability to create ultrasonic vibrations and sound waves whenever she screams, called the Canary Cry. Her mother is also mentioned by Renee Montoya in the movie vaguely enough to suggest that the two characters are a legacy in the movie's continuity. And speaking of Montoya, Black Canary is the one who tipped her off about the exchange at the amusement mile, making her be there and get herself exposed as a mole to Victor Zsasz, who takes control of the situation only to be killed by Huntress, and who I will talk about once I'm done with the summary. Before he was killed off, Zsasz managed to report to Black Mask that Black Canary is a narc ratting off to the cops, and by this point of the movie we have reached the climax where Black Mask has gathered an army-sized bunch of armed goons to raid the amusement mile and overpower all the, let's see, Harley, Canary, Huntress, Montoya, Cassandra, all five women who realize that they are in a tough situation where they need to fight their way out. This is actually one point in the movie that shows Harley to be smarter than she appears to be, as choosing amusement mile as the location of the exchange. She has brought them to one of her and the Joker's safe houses with a weapons cache that they will be able to use fighting against Black Mask's forces. When Cassandra is, however, taken from them by one of the goons in the heat of a well-choreographed fight sequence, they use Black Canary's Canary Cry to incapacitate the rest of the goons while also pushing rollerblade shoes wearing Harley after Black Mask's limousine. The high-speed chase scene is impressive to watch on the first viewing, with Huntress helping Harley give more speed by dragging her with her motorcycle, until they manage to get Black Mask's limousine to crash, and Harley chases him with Cassandra as hostage to the Founder's Pier in the fog of the night. Harley and Black Mask exchange some words at the pier until Cassandra manages to pick one of the pins of the grenade hidden in the Black Mask's suit. In panic, he pushes Cassandra away trying to get the grenade off him, but Harley pushes him off the pier and he graphically blows up before hitting the water. With the bad guy killed, Harley and Cassandra regroup with Canary, Huntress, and Montoya at a Mexican food restaurant for tacos to continue trying to get the diamond out of Cassandra. After it does, Harley and Cassandra then ditch the other women who then decide that they have had enough experience to form the female crime fighting team the movie is named after. The Birds of Prey go on to beat up bad guys in clothes that resemble the outfits of their comic book counterparts, and Harley goes to self-employ herself with the money she got by pawning the diamond after she sent the bank information lasered into it to the named characters of the movie. And that is how the movie ended when I left the theater. Birds of Prey and the unnecessary subtitle including Harley Quinn was directed by Kathy Yan, reshot for action sequences by Chad Stahelski, and written by Christina Hudson. Their previous works include, for Yan, a couple of short films that I have not seen, for Stahelski, the John Wick movies, and Captain America Civil War, a movie that killed the MCU for me, and for Hudson, the Bumblebee movie that I have not seen either, although she is writing Ezra Miller's upcoming Flash movie. Judging their caliber of work in this movie goes with me saying give them A for effort for what they were given to work with. However, there are some grievances that I have for how they handled some of these characters. Margot Robbie portrays Harley Quinn pretty much the same way how she did in 2016 Suicide Squad, and her main thing here is pretty much the same as there. Harley Quinn needs other characters to bounce out of to be interesting, or otherwise she would become stale in an echo chamber. This is why when the new 52 happened back in 2011, she was put in with the Suicide Squad when she was not with the Joker. And when she struck on her own in Amanda Connor's and Jim Palmiotti's solo series, she was given an over-the-top inner monologue, a larger supporting cast including an obscure Wonder Woman villain Ekfu, and a Deadpool ripoff, while also teaming up with an amnestic Power Girl or being on the run as a murder suspect with Booster Gold in Tom King's Heroes in Crisis Disaster. Harley Quinn needs the attention to be a successful character, but with too much attention given to her, it ends up going against her like basic reverse psychology or developed diabetes from consuming too much sugar. And that's enough I can talk about her without it happening to me too, so let's go over everyone else. I must say that casting Evan McGregor for Black Mask was a surprising hit when you look at what the character looks like in his first appearance in Batman issue 386. Look at this panel. It's like a chubby Evan McGregor, and he plays the character as ruthless as I could imagine him to be from the few comics I have read him appearing in. Which kind of comes back to kick the movie in the back when Evan had to go on to interpret as being a woman-hating misogynist similar to those guys from the Millennium Trilogy and go around in the interviews saying that, well, I think other more experienced YouTuber reviewers have covered this topic better than I could, so let's move on. As I mentioned earlier about Renee Montoya, she seems like she has been removed from all the positive male characters that she has ever worked with in the comics. She is not referenced to have worked under Commissioner Gordon or having been partnered with Harvey Bullock, those two of whom have been shown to have a very good, grudgingly respectful working relationship with her. But I suppose, for the same reason as with Evan McGregor's views of Black Mask, having those positive male characters appearing with her probably didn't fit the film's narrative. Let's just say that the movie is somewhat self-aware to admit she is a caricature of a cop from 80s cop movies, while holding to her lesbian sexuality from the comics as a passing reference. When it comes to Black Canary and Huntress, they were to some point portrayed like their comic book counterparts from before and after the New 52. Before in Huntress's case, with her being the survivor of a mob massacre and her vendetta being her driving force into becoming, as the characters call her before she actually shows up, the crossbow killer. Mary Elizabeth Winstead does a serviceable job in portraying her on her quest for revenge, but out of all the characters she seems to have the least screen time. In Black Canary's case, she is a mix of from before and after New 52 versions of the character by being Dinah Lance, and with her mother being referenced to have been working with the police in the past while having the same power as the daughter, aka Canary Cry. The New 52 inspirations come from her being a club singer in her first scene, as in the short lived solo series portrayed Dinah as a singer in an underground band. I still have to address the elephant in the room by acknowledging the casting of these two actors playing these two characters, as Journey Smollett Bell is not a blonde Irish woman, and it is Helena Bertinelli version of the Huntress in the comics who is currently portrayed as a biracial woman of color. I suppose they flipped a coin for the casting of these women after testing which one of them is a better singer or has a better voice. And now I finally get to talk about Victor Zsasz. Now, Victor Zsasz is a character who doesn't care who or what you are. A man, a woman, child, teenager, or an adult, he doesn't see you as a human being. He sees you as a walking, mutilated corpse demonstrating how he is going to kill you. Even in the comics, when he was once meeting Penguin, he saw Penguin with his throat slashed open with all the time when they were working together, and ended the conversation by telling him that he is going to kill him eventually. Zsasz is essentially like a horror movie monster, similar to Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers with the aspirations of Freddy Krueger. He needs to kill people because that is what he sees as his purpose for living after he lost everything he used to own, and all the scars he has on his body are self-inflicted to keep the tally on how many zombies he has liberated from wasting their lives. In this movie, when he is working with Black Mask, I kept thinking if he is fantasizing about how he's going to kill Black Mask all the time he saw him, and by protecting him meant that he was going to save Black Mask as the last person he would ever kill. Because ultimately, portraying Victor Zsasz as a sexist or misogynistic person does not work when all he cares about is how he is going to kill everyone he comes across. And unlike how the movie portrays it, it's not a fetish or a power thing for him, it's his religion. Zaz found his God when a homeless man he had been unable to give money for being broke tried to kill him when he was trying to kill himself. In the movie before he was killed, there was a scene that I can only imagine was inspired by a scene from Batman the Nightfall storyline where Zaz had broken into a woman's dormitory, showed them his scars, and talked to them how he is going to kill them before Batman comes to stop him. I repeat, killing people is Zaz's religion and his reason to live. It's not a fetish based on some kind of misogynistic hatred against women. It baffles my mind that the mainstream audience was exposed and explained this about his character back in 2009 in Batman Arkham Asylum video game, and then further explored in 2011 sequel Arkham City, and it still flew over the writer's head. For an R-rated movie to portray a realistic horror movie monster like Zaz this way, Chris Messina could have been used much better when they went far enough to dye his hair blonde to resemble the character's original appearance. And another character who got the similar treatment as Zaz was Cassandra Cain, who could have been replaced with any other character and the film's plot would not have changed in any way. Cassandra Cain is a character who was raised by her father, David Cain, who used raising methods that we might as well call child abuse, where he used the language of violence to raise her so she was unable to speak, write, or read, and could only communicate with other people with a violent form of sign language as the best and deadliest fighter in the world, who could only understand other people by reading their body language, meaning she could feel and understand how people felt when they died. Being able to read this from killing a man traumatized her so much that she ran away from her father and wandered around the world until she was discovered by Batman and Oracle during No Man's Land. And the fact that she couldn't speak, read, or write made it when she spoke for the first time her first word, stop, when she saved Commissioner Gordon from being killed by her father. Both tragic and heartwarming for Batman, Oracle, and even David Cain after they had struggled to try to communicate and teach her other forms of communications like writing and reading. What did this movie give us in a comparison? A little street smart girl with an attitude in the foster system who pickpockets everyone she comes across like a kleptomaniac and thinks it's cool to kill people when she meets Harley Quinn and wants to be like her. This character could have been anyone else. She could have been replaced with Harper Row or Catwoman's friend Holly Robinson or one of those characters from Gotham Academy comic where they created original characters for that series. But because Ella J. Basco is of Asian heritage and the niece of Prince Zuko, she was cast as the character she resembles. And now that we're talking about changing characters, Sass could have been switched up with Eduardo Flamingo, based on how Black Mask had him kill a family early in the movie. In the end, this movie could have been called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, or made two completely separate movies as it was supposedly being a Gotham City Sirens movie, who was reportedly being in the works with David Ayer as the director, and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn would have been joined with Catwoman and Poison Ivy, while The Birds of Prey would have been a separate movie altogether. But then Margot Robbie was made producer and she wanted to have Birds of Prey in her movie, and so pushed Barbara Gordon down the stairs in her wheelchair. Just like Frank Drebin did to Nordberg in the first Naked I don't want to hate this movie. There are already enough people doing that who have done much better reviews and better videos than I could have done with this one. If done with the changes I suggested to Victor Zsasz and Cassandra Cain, this movie could have been better in my eyes.